Hi. If you have watched my previous videos, you already have a fair idea about my stance on meditation. I believe meditation is not about finding perfect silence. That perfect silence that we think about, that is more of a byproduct that automatically happens. But that should not be your uh, thinking about that meditation practice will be absolute silence. That's not gonna happen. Meditation is just sitting and focusing on your anchor, but meditation is also getting distracted. Also, when you get distracted, uh, meditation is also noticing that distraction. And finally, meditation is also coming back after you notice it, coming back just like that. No anger. I mean, it happened. Distraction happened, coming back happened. Now, meditation is basically how I see meditation is like meditation is a journey back from the chaos of your mind to the silence of focus of your anchor. Now, for me, when I'm meditating, I mostly meditate with my breath. And if I'm feeling really focused, I use my physical body sensations. So, lately, I've been thinking about a question. Now, I've made all these videos to help you meditate better, but I was thinking, how do I explain this? What I feel after meditation or during meditation, or what benefits I get from meditation. How do I help someone experience those true meditation benefits? Then one thought hit me. The simplest way, just checking if this is working. I made a previous video without getting this on, so uh, hopefully I'll edit this. Then the thought hit me. The simplest way to understand it is this. I should share my thinking when I'm meditating, what I am thinking, how I'm implementing it. That I'm going to be sharing with you today. So more about my routine and the real way I meditate. So when I sit down to meditate, I have one rule in my mind. I'm not doing this to achieve something. I don't want some magical change to appear in me. I'm simply practicing to improve my focus on the present moment, right? So from the second I start, my focus, my only goal is to strictly be on my anchor. Now I shared with you, some days it's breath, some days it's body sensation. Apart from me focusing on my anchor, say my breath, nothing else matters to me while I am sitting in that position meditating. Now, do I get distracted? 100%. Of course I do. But when it happens, I don't get angry. I just acknowledge it like it happened. Like I am sitting to meditate, distraction happened, so it happened. So when I come back, that also happens. So I actually say an internal thank you to my awareness for catching me getting distracted. Then I go straight back to what I need to do, staying with my breath. If I can give you one piece of advice, it is this. Don't try to create your meditation experience. If you're focusing on your breath, be patient. Focus on like the external part of your nostril, hair or hair, this part between your upper lip and nostrils. You can, according to your choice, you can like focus and be present at those. Keep your focus at those points. Focus on seeing and experiencing the breath as it naturally is, not on enacting your breath or forcing it. Now, if you just do this, and every time you are distracted, just keep coming back. Only one thing will happen. You will succeed. Now, if you do what I am sharing with you, you will end up meditating like a monk. Now, we often have different perceptions about monks. Now, I respect the monks a lot. They have given up a lot of material pursuits for the one thing that matters, being happy, being content. But monks are highly disciplined meditators. That's how I see monks. And to be a disciplined meditator, you don't have to be a monk. Anyone who meditates with discipline will get the exact same benefit, right? Now, when you start meditating correctly, I'm sharing some real world benefits with you. You will notice a shift in your environment. Now you become more free. You begin to genuinely enjoy your own company, presence. You will never feel lonely when you are alone. You will feel that this is as good as anything else. You become more open to talking to people, and honestly, you will be amazed with this benefit. You will be okay with people winning arguments. You'll be like, okay, you'll smile internally and let them win. This is, I feel, happens a lot to me. I don't want to win every simple, small argument. Doesn't matter. Now I hope I'm not giving you the impression that I am Buddha or that you are going to become one. Now life is still hard. I do get annoyed when I see childish behavior around me, or when someone misbehaves with an elderly in the metro for some small reason. But when that happens, you have to learn to be respectful and bring it back to your practice. What is the practice? Just focus on what you need to do in life also. Just keep your awareness on what needs to be done next. Now I have plenty of struggles in my life, but earlier, like, I had a lot of bitterness in me. I used to carry a lot of bitterness because of them. Now I don't. So I've realized that that is just life. There will always be challenges. There is no one in your relations, friends. Can you think of someone who is only happy? I mean, don't go by Facebook. People will only put good things on Facebook. You know, you have to learn to be happy in spite of your struggles or challenges. Wishing for a life without any problems has no logic. I mean, you can't, just by wishing also you'll not achieve it. So I used to get bogged down by my problems. Now they are still there, but they feel like more like a sticker instead of a heavy weight. Meditation is not magic, but it creates a lot of pleasantness in you. That pleasantness when you are focused on what you need to do and there is no other thought, which practice will get you to that place. It makes you a manifestation machine. When you're focused on doing one thing and there is nothing else in your mind, no negativity around it, it's already done. That's how I would explain it. Now as you update your mind, your life updates too, moving in an upward curve. So if this is making sense and you want to try what I just shared, that is the most important thing. If you want to try that, what I shared, stay with Finding Meditation. I'll be back to share any other learning that I have. So till then, keep meditating, and when you are meditating, do only that. Cheers.